Aboard the falling star, silence was the most treacherous enemy. Not the silence of vacuum, but an internal quiet that gnawed at the mind, a heavy burden from 2 years of isolation on a deep reconnaissance mission. I was Captain Anya Sharma, and my crew, reduced to just myself and Lieutenant Kairos, was all that remained of the ambitious M-13 Nebula exploration project. Our ship, designed for long voyages, now felt like a metallic coffin drifting through a sea of stars. Kairos, my only companion, had become increasingly withdrawn. His eyes, once bright with the curiosity of a young astrophysicist, now carried the weight of sleepless nights and something he couldn't express. "Captain," he once mumbled, his voice hoarse, "do you hear that? Nothing?" I did hear it. A subtle hum, an absence of sound that was more disturbing than any noise. The M-13 Nebula wasn't the colorful gas and dust cloud distant telescopes showed. Up close, it was a mass of opaque darkness, a hole in the fabric of space that sucked in light and radio waves. It was a place where suspense was a thick layer in the air. Our mission was simple: to investigate the origin of an energy anomaly detected by long-range satellites. But with each passing day we delved deeper, the void seemed to grow denser. The falling star's systems began to fail randomly, gravitational energy readings fluctuated without apparent cause. And communications with Central Command became intermittent, then non-existent. It was Kairos who made the crucial discovery. His subspace energy scanner, calibrated to detect organic life signatures in extreme environments, picked up something. "Captain. Unidentified object. 120,000 kilometers, and it's growing." On the main monitor, a blurry image began to form. It wasn't a ship, nor an asteroid. It was a structure. A gigantic, almost perfectly spherical crystalline formation that seemed to absorb the nebula's light, making it an even darker blot against the blackness. It had no known origin, no mark of civilization. Just sharp angles and surfaces that radiated an aura of absolute stillness. As we approached, the internal silence intensified. It wasn't just the absence of sound, it was the absence of thought. As if the mind itself was trying to unravel. Kairos's body began to tremble uncontrollably, his eyes glazed over. "It's a seed," he whispered, his voice barely audible. "The seed of silence." I felt the cosmic horror seep in. This structure wasn't an artifact. It was an entity. A creature made of some unknown cosmic substance, radiating an aura of annihilation. It emitted no signals, it didn't move. It simply existed, draining the energy and the very sanity of anything nearby. The falling star was rapidly losing power. The structure was sucking the life out of our systems. Navigation screens flickered, showing impossible coordinates. Our defenses were offline. We were adrift, vulnerable to danger in the void. Through the main viewport, I saw flashes. Not explosions, but distortions in the space around the sphere, glimpses of landscapes that defied geometry, visions of stars twisting and melting. Fractured reality was revealing itself. "It doesn't want to destroy us, Captain," Kairos said, his voice now strangely calm, almost reverent. "It wants to absorb us. Like silence absorbs sound. It's an invitation to nothingness," I realized then. The M-13 Nebula wasn't just a gas cloud. It was a quarantine zone. A natural, or perhaps artificial, seal to contain this seed of silence. And we, with our intrusion, were awakening it. We had no weapons to destroy an exotic matter entity. But we had a warp core. If the seed fed on energy and the concept of existence, perhaps we could overload it, flood it with the opposite of what it sought. Chaos, raw energy, noise. "Jackson," I spoke into the intercom, even though I knew he wasn't responding. I was alone. The idea was insane. I would need to redirect all of the falling star's reactor power into a concentrated warp pulse, not to move us, but to create an explosion of distorted energy directly at the sphere's face. It would be suicide for the ship, and likely for me. With trembling but steady hands, I began reconfiguring the systems. The silence in the cabin was oppressive, broken only by my own pounding heart. I could feel the seed, closer, its aura of annihilation pressing on my mind, trying to convince me to give up, to accept nothingness. I remembered Kairos's eyes, filled with a comprehension that had shattered him. I couldn't let this spread. Humanity was loud, chaotic, and full of life. It was something worth protecting from eternal silence. I redlined the reactor, ignoring the alarm screaming across my panels. The falling star's hull began to groan, red alert lights flashing everywhere. The hum in my mind became a roar, the temptation of nothingness almost overwhelming. With one final effort, I activated the pulse. The ship exploded. Not with fire or sound, but with a silent, violent release of warp energy. A psychic and gravitational shockwave erupted from the falling star, striking the seed of silence at its core. The crystalline sphere shimmered. For an instant, the glow within its fissure brightened. And I glimpsed a face, not of flesh or bone, but of pure absence, of infinite void, before the fissure contracted and the glow completely extinguished. The sphere didn't disintegrate, but its aura of annihilation diminished to almost nothing. The cosmic silence was no longer the silence of the void, it was just the silence of space. I floated in the vacuum, the debris of the falling star scattered around me. My pressure suit was damaged, oxygen dwindling. But I was alive. And the seed of silence was dormant again. I was rescued days later by a routine patrol, found drifting, almost frozen, with an implausible story of reactor failure and vacuum-induced hallucinations. Kairos. I never heard from him again. Now, I live a quiet life on the frontier, a former ship captain who avoids deep space. But when I look at the stars at night, at the dark smudge of the M-13 Nebula, I feel it. The silence is still there, waiting. And I am the only one who heard the seed of silence's lullaby. And the thriller of waiting is my constant companion.